Hello everybody, good morning, good morning, good morning. We're editing chapter 6, the sound effects mix today, so kind of exciting. Oops, sorry. Now, you might notice I sound a bit different to usual. That's because I'm using my old Yeti microphone. It's a little bit clicky and a little bit weird, and the sound's maybe going to cut out and cut in and all of that sort of stuff. I hope you can hear me okay. Just one second, yeah. Let me do a little thing. No, that's all fine. It's all fine. It should all be fine. Checking my levels. There's me. Now I will play something. And there's that going on. Okay, great.
Mina Murray's Journal.
Alright, good. So, hopefully that should all be... I don't know why it's being so jerky at the moment. But that's okay. Right, okay, no problem. Chapter 6. This is the first master edit that was put together by Matche, because I found it incredibly difficult to match Jennifer Speaks recordings to the rest of the recordings. And he has a bit more skill than I do, so I gave him that job. So, let's kick into it and get our SFX ready. That's our first job. There we are, prepared. We are prepared. Ready to go. Okay, let's make sure all that's working. How about, what one? Let's try, there we go. Great, what a great little sound effect that is. Alright, so we're beginning chapter 6. Let's just kick that open there. Because chapter 6, I believe, is in Whitby, which is like a seaside resort, if I'm remembering correctly. Met me at the station. Lovely place. Little river runs through the deep valley, which broadens out as it comes near the harbour. Yes, okay. Now, one of our actors has actually been to this place. He has looked at this graveyard. He has seen the lighthouse. He has looked at the harbour, which is one of the great things about having a cast from all around the world. He told me a little bit about how it sounds. And some of that we can use, and some of it we cannot. So, let's have a look. We're going to use like a toned down version of what's going on at the actual place. Beach fun, no, not so much. We just want waves for the moment. Water, waves lapping on the shore extended. That's quite a light one. But that's probably a good start. So there you go. Let's start with that. We would like some seagulls, and I don't actually have any seagulls. I don't think I've ever had to do seagulls before. Alright, so let's see if we can find some nice seagulls without having to go off and buy them. Okay, seagulls. Sorry, I do have the microphone on the little coffee table that holds my my microphone, so you're going to hear every key that I click at the moment. I'm afraid I'll, if this goes well and it proves to be worth it, I'll fix that later. How's this? Load up, please. Come on, this should not be this slow. Okay, that's pretty lo-fi. And it's also only a minute long. So that's okay. I felt sure that I had some better, maybe in weather. Like thunderstorm, water drop, windy, 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 windy. No, the weather is mostly wind and rain and thunder. I did think I had a beach for something. This is one of the problems with collecting this many sound effects over the years. You can see there's a bunch just sitting in the open file, but it's all organization. Where do you put them? You know, I mean, I have a whole folder called things. You know, it's difficult to keep this stuff organized. Maybe in here we might have some. This is a very random hodgepodge. It was just an assorted file that was sent me. Lakes and oceans. It's nice high quality, a little bit sparkly, but it is a lake. It's canoe, rain, snow, underwater, wonderful, waterfalls. Yeah, so no seagulls. I don't think I have any seagulls. That's alright. I'll track some down and buy some and put them in later. That's okay. Alright. So, we need this ocean sound. I would say also there's a bit of wind. He said it's very windy, very wavy, and the seagulls are incredibly loud. So we can build quite a lot of that. Let's see, wind. Most of our wind is a little bit creepy, I have to say. Very blizzard, but if we have that sort of quietly behind the water, that might be okay. We'll have a little bit of a play with that. Maybe you, like, really quite low, and I think you might have to come up a bit.
24th July.
Yeah, you're not really beach water at all, are you? Gosh darn it. Right away, we've come up upon problems. Thing is, I'm absolutely certain that I have, like, beach somewhere. Just beach fun, people playing on the beach, kids and whatnot. I mean, it is like a tourist place. Maybe that is okay. Let's try that and we'll see how it goes. I mean, they're meant to be sort of sitting in a cemetery. But it is a cemetery on the shore, sort of overlooking the beach. It's quite a nice place to sit, apparently. It's a little bit weird. I've never really thought of graveyards as somewhere you would just hang out. Not since my goth phase back in the 90s, anyway. Alright, so let's see.
24th July.
Right, that's my birthday, incidentally.
24th July.
Isn't that nice? Alright, so we'll cut that down to where we want to sit it. And we'll fade it in from there.
Mary's journal.
24th July, Whitby. Lucy met me at the station looking sweeter and... 24th July, Whitby. Lucy met me at the station looking sweeter and lovelier than ever, and we drove up to the house at the Crescent in which they have rooms. This is a lovely place. The little river, the Esk, runs through a deep valley which broadens out as it comes near the harbour. A great viaduct runs across with high piers, through which the view seems somehow further away than it really is. The valley is beautifully green, and it is so steep that when you are on the highland on either side, you look right across it unless you are near enough to see down. The houses of the old town, the side away from us, are all red-roofed and seem piled up one over the other anyhow, like the pictures we see of Nuremberg. Right over the town is the ruin of Whitby Abbey, which was sacked by the Danes, and which is the scene of the part of Mermont, where the girl was built up in the wall. It is a most noble ruin of immense size and full of beautiful and romanticness. There is a legend that a white lady is seen in one of the windows. Between it and the town there is another church, the parish one, round which is a big graveyard, all full of tombstones. This, to my mind, is the nicest spot in Whitby, for it lies right over the town and has a full view of the harbour and all up to the bay, where the headland called Kettleness stretches out into the sea. It descends so steeply over the harbour that part of the bank has fallen away, and some of the graves have been destroyed. In one place, part of the stonework of the graves stretches out over the sandy pathway far below. There are walks with seats beside them through the churchyard, and people go and sit there all day long looking at the beautiful view and enjoying the breeze. I shall come and sit here often myself and work. Indeed, I am writing now with my book on my knee, and listening to the talk of 3 old men who are sitting beside me. They seem to do nothing all day but sit here and talk. The harbour lies below me with, on the far side, one long granite wall stretching out into the sea with a curve outwards at the end of it, in the middle of which is a lighthouse. A heavy sea wall runs along outside of it. On the near side, the sea wall makes an elbow crooked inversely, and its end too has a lighthouse. Between the 2 piers there is a narrow opening into the harbour, which then suddenly widens. It is nice at high water, but when the tide is out, it shrinks away to nothing, and there is merely the stream of the Esk running between banks of sand, with rocks here and there. Outside the harbour, on this side, there rises for about half a mile a great reef, the sharp of which runs straight out from behind the south lighthouse. At the end of it is a buoy with a bell, which swings in bad weather and sends in a mournful sound on the wind. They have a legend here that when a ship is lost, bells are heard out at sea. You must ask the old man about this. He is coming this way. He is a funny old man. He must be awfully old, for his face is gnarled and twisted like the bark of a tree. He tells me that he is nearly 100, and that he was a sailor in the Greenland fishing fleet when Waterloo was fought. He is, I am afraid, a very sceptical person, for when I asked him about the bells at sea and the White Lady at the Abbey, he said very briskly, I thought he would be a good person to learn interesting things from, so I asked.
Wait, what? Oh, that's just Mina. No, wrong file. Wrong file, silly Stephen. Good lord. Alright. Let's go get the right file, shall we? Something on the corridor on the Dracula on the chapter 6. And then we got chapter 6 massage edit. Not massage. Matche. Spelt massage, but that's hardly the point, is it? Okay. Sorry, folks. My bad. Okay. So.
Mina Murray's journal.
24th July, Whitby. Lucy met me at the station.
Right, and that's just...
Chapter 6. Mina Murray's journal. Chapter 6. Mina.
Right, and I think that should start about there. So we'll split that. And we'll pull this back. And we go... Oops. Undo. Oh no. Right. All of that. Then we normalize max peaks to -1 decibels, which is the industry standard there.
journal.
But it's also apparently poo, so...
24th July, Whitby. Lucy met me at the station looking sweeter and lovelier than ever.
Oh, good
And we
lord.
drove up to the house at the Crescent and... Right over the town is the ruin of Whitby Abbey of the windows. In my mind is the nicest into the sea. It descends so beside them through the... I book on my knee. I seem to do nothing all day but sit here and talk. The harbour lies below me with, on the far side, one long granite wall stretching out into the sea with a curve outwards at the end of it, in the middle of which is a lighthouse. A heavy seawall runs along outside of it. On the near side, the seawall makes an elbow crooked inversely, and its end too has a lighthouse. Between the two piers there is a narrow opening into the harbour, which then suddenly widens. It is nice at high water, but when the tide is out, it shrinks away to nothing, and there is merely the stream of the Esk running between banks of sand, with rocks here and there. Outside the harbour, on this side, there rises for about half a mile a great reef, the sharp of which runs straight out from behind the south lighthouse. At the end of it is a buoy with a bell, which swings in bad weather and sends in a mournful sound on the wind. They have a legend here that when a ship is lost, bells are heard out at sea. I must ask the old man about this. He is coming this way. He is a funny old man. He must be awfully old, for his face is gnarled and twisted like the bark of a tree. He tells me that he is nearly 100, and that he was a sailor in the Greenland fishing fleet when Waterloo was fought. He is, I am afraid, a very sceptical person, for when I asked him about the bells at sea and the White Lady at the Abbey, he said very briskly,
I wouldn't fash myself about and miss. Them things be all wore out. Mind, I don't say there never was, but I do say there once in my time. They be all very well for comers and trippers and like, but not for a nice young lady like you. Them feet folk.
What the hell?
Needs to be always eating cured herrings and drinking tea and looking out to buy cheap jetwood creed oat. I wonder myself who'd be bothered telling lies to 'em. Even newspaper, which is full of bull talk.
I thought he would be a good person to learn interesting...
What the hell? Good lord.
I wonder.
I mean, what the hell? That sounds terrible.
Very briskly.
I wouldn't fash myself about and miss. Them things be all wore out.
See, volume is... It's incredibly difficult. I really want Dracula to have multiple voices, okay, for all the different characters. I really, really do. I think it's... It will lift it beyond the other versions of Dracula that are out there on YouTube. You know, it could be a really special event, but by the gods, it is hard to wrangle. Oh man, people recording all over the world in different rooms with different skill levels of technology and stuff, and just the volume clipping and all of that. It's so hard. It's so hard. Unless this book is incredibly successful when it comes out, and I mean nearing 1984, my most popular book, unless it's nearly that successful when it comes out, I don't think I will ever do this again. Because, man, it's a pain in the ass.
Talk.
I thought he would be a good person to learn interesting things from, so I asked him if he would mind telling me something about the whale fishing in the old days. He was just settling himself to begin when the clock struck 6, whereupon he laboured to get up and said,
I must gang again good home now, miss. My granddaughter don't like to be kept.
Okay, so things I can control. we now have a bell, which I'm absolutely sure that we have. I don't know where, but I know we have it. Bell, is that it? Nope. Okay. Maybe clock tower bell. Yes. There we go. 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, perfect. Excellent. Okay, so
Something about the whale fishing in the old days. He was just settling himself to begin when the clock struck 6. The clock struck 6, whereupon he laboured to get up and said,
I must gang again with home now, miss. My granddaughter don't like to be kept waiting when tea's ready. Be kept waiting when tea's ready, for it takes me time to crumble a I'd like to be kept waiting when tea's ready, for it takes me time to crumble a boom the grease. For there be many of them, and Miss Alack belly timber, surely by clock.
he hobbled away. Up and said,
I must gang again with home now, miss. My granddaughter don't like to be kept waiting when
get up and said,
I must gang again with home now, miss. My granddaughter don't like to be kept waiting when tea's ready, for it takes me time to crumble a boom the grease. For there be many of them, and Miss Alack belly timber, surely by clock.
he hobbled away, and I could see him hurrying as well as he could down the steps.
yes, 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 hurrying away, blah, blah, blah. But also, how come this water stopped already? I'm pretty sure nobody turned the bloody ocean off, did they? No, they didn't. They didn't because they can't, and even if they could, they shouldn't. Be quiet. Alright. I'm getting all sorts of weird little digital noises in my ears here. Because of this terrible old Yeti microphone that I plugged in. It's reminding me of why I got rid of this one and bought a new one. Because it's rather doomed. It's terrible. It's on its way out, you know. It's absolutely awful. Okay, let's just blend that, and I'm sure that'll sound fine.
I wonder Miss Sarah would be bothered.
Yeah, because I mean, the ocean, let's face it, is mostly white noise anyway, right?
The clock struck 6, whereupon he laboured to get up and said,
I must gang again with home now, miss. My granddaughter don't like to be kept waiting when tea's ready, for it takes me time to crumble a boom the grease. For there be many of them, and Miss Alack belly timber, surely by clock.
he hobbled away, and I could see him hurrying as well as he could down the steps. The steps are a great feature on the place. They lead from the town to the church. There are hundreds of them. I do not know how many, and they wind up in a delicate curve. The slope is so gentle that a horse could easily walk up and down them. I think they must originally have had something to do with the abbey. I shall go home too. Lucy went out visiting with her mother, and as they were only on duty calls, I did not go. 1 August.
Right. Now, are they still at the beach? I think they are.
They came up here an hour ago with Lucy.
Yep. Okay. Right. So, we'll do this. We'll grab it and we'll zoom it down. We'll volume fade down while she's making the announcement of the date, and then we fade back in.
And as they were only on duty calls, I did not go. 1 August. I came up here an hour ago with Lucy, and we had a most interesting talk with my old friend and the two others who always come and join him. He is evidently the Sir Oracle of them, and I should think must have been in his time a most dictatorial person. He will not admit anything, and downfaces everybody. If he can't out-argue them, he bullies them, and then takes their silence for agreement with his views. Lucy was looking sweetly pretty in her white lawn frock. She has got a beautiful colour since she has been here. I noticed that the old man did not lose any time in coming and sitting near her when we sat down. She is so sweet with old people. I think they all fell in love with her on the spot. Even my old man succumbed and did not contradict her, but he gave me double share instead. I got him on the subject of the legends, and he went off at once into a sort of sermon. I must try to remember it and put it down.
It be all full talk, lock, stock and barrel. That's what it be and naught else. These bands and wafts and bogles and bar guests and boggles and all.
I think I'm going to have to lower the bass a little bit on those ones as well. I mean, I don't know. I'm aware that my ears are more finely tuned than most of the people who listen to these things. I know this is true. But the difference in audio quality between these two recordings is monumental to me. It's staggering.
Sort of sermon. I must try to remember it and put it down.
It be all full talk, lock, stock and barrel. That's what it be and naught else. These bands and wafts and bogles and bar guests and boggles and all into 'em. They'll only fit to set bairns and dizzy women a beldering. There be naught but air blebs. There no grims, signs, warnings. Be all invented by parsons and ilsome bird bodies and railway touters to scare and scunner rafflins, and to get folk to do something they don't other incline to. It makes me ire full to think of 'em. Why, it's them that not content with printing lies in paper and preaching it out at pulpits still want to be cutting them on tombstones. Look here, all around you, where you will. All them stones holding up their heads as well they can out of their pride, is they can simply falling down with weighted lies wrought on 'em. Here lies the body or sacred to memory wrote on all of 'em. And yet in nigh half of 'em there ain't been no bodies at all, and memories of 'em been cared a pinch of snuff about, much less sacred. Lies, all of 'em. Now but lies, of one kind or t'other. My God, but it'll be a queer scowdement at the day of judgment when they come tumbling up in their death sacks, all joked together and try to drag their tombstones with them to prove how good they were. And some of them trembling and dithering with their hands all dozened and slippery from lying in the sea that they can't even keep a grip of them.
I could see from the old fellow's self-satisfaction. I could see
that they can't even keep a grip of them.
I could see from the old fellow's self-satisfied air and the way in which he looked round for approval of his cronies that he was showing off. So I put in a word to keep him going. Oh, Mr. Swales, you can't be serious. Surely these tombstones are not all wrong.
Yablins.
Yablins. That's my favourite word in this chapter. I'm pretty sure it's an expletive of the old world. I just have no idea what it means. Yablins! I'll be saying that in the future when I stub my toes.
Not all wrong.
Yablins. There may be a poorish few not wrong, saving where they make out people too good. There be folk that do think a barn ball be like...
More sea, please! More sea. There we go.
certain way they make out people too good. There be folk that do think a barn ball be like sea, if only it be their own. The whole thing be only lies. Now, look you here. You come here as stranger, and you see this Kirkgarth.
I nodded, for I thought it better to assent, though I did not quite understand his dialect. I knew it had something to do with the church. He went on.
And you can say it that all these stones be about folk that apt here, snod and snog.
I assented again.
And that be just where lie comes in. Why, there be scores of these lay beds that be 2 mes old duns back a box on a Friday night.
He nudged one of
Lay beds that be 2
Right.
mes old duns, and that be just where.
I assented again.
Okay, so we drop all that a little bit.
That apt here, snod and snog.
I assented again.
And that be just. Where lie comes in. Why, there be scores of these lay beds that be 2 mes old duns back a box on a Friday night.
Cheeky, all of that goes under there.
He nudged one of his companions, and they all laughed.
Friday night.
He nudged one of his companions. He nudged one of his companions, and they all laughed.
Oh my God, how could.
He nudged one of his companions, and they all laughed.
Oh my God, how could they. Oh my God, how could they be otherwise? Look at that and the aftist above the beer bank. Read it!
I went. He nudged one of his companions, and they all laughed.
Friday night.
He nudged one of his companions, and they all laughed.
Oh my God, how could they be otherwise? Look at that and the aftist above the beer bank. Read it!
I went over and read, Edward. Spenceley, master mariner, murdered by pirates off the coast of Andes, April 1854, aged 30. When I came back, Mr. Swales went on.
Aye, and who brought him home, I wonder, to happy here, murdered off coast of Andes, and you can say it in his body lay under. Why? Aye, and who brought him home, I wonder, to happy here, murdered off coast of Andes, and you can say it in his body lay under. Why, I could name ye a dozen whose bones lie in Greenland seas above.
He pointed northwards.
Seas above.
He pointed northwards.
Oh, where currents may. Seas above.
He pointed northwards.
Oh, where currents may have drifted 'em. There be stones around ye. Ye can with your young eyes read small print that lies from here. This Braithwaite Lowry I knew his father. Lost stint Livy off Greenland in 20. Or Andrew Woodhouse drowned in same seas in 1777. Or John Paxton drowned off Cape of Farewell a year later. Or John Rawlins, whose grandfather sailed with me, drowned in Gulf of Finland in 50. Do you think all these men will have to make a rush to whip it when trumpet sounds? I have me anthems about it. I tell you, when they got here, they'd be jumbling and jostling one another that way that it'd be like a fight up on ice in old days, when we'd be at one another from daylight to dark and trying to tie up our cuts by the aurora borealis.
This was evidently local.
Okay.
Borealis.
This was evidently local pleasantry, for the old man cackled over it and his cronies joined in with gusto. But I said, sure.
Old men laughing. Do I have something like that? I don't know. Let's have a look. If I do, great. If I don't, oh well. I'm not particularly worried about it. Laughter group. That's not going to be right. No, that's like an audience. There you go. That'll do.
This was evidently local pleasantry, for the old man cackled over it in his
Borealis.
This was
Yeah, where's that one? Combine a bit of that too. Alright, so you can go there, you can go there.
Alice.
This was evidently local pleasantry.
I have already used that laugh, so we're going to keep it pretty quiet.
Alice.
This was evidently local pleasantry, for the old man cackled over it and his cronies joined in with gusto. But I said, surely you are not quite correct, for you start on the assumption that all the poor people, all their spirits, will have to take their tombstones with them on the Day of Judgment. Do you think that will be really necessary?
Well, what else? Well, what else be the tombstones for, eh? Answer me that, miss.
To please their relatives, I suppose.
What is it? Afterlife bollocks.
Eh?
An old Irish Catholic arguing with himself about religion.
Answer me that, miss. Answer me that, miss.
To please their relatives, I suppose.
To please their relatives, you suppose.
This, he said with
Suppose.
This, he said with intense scorn.
How will it pleasure their relatives?
This, he said with intense scorn.
How will it pleasure their relatives to know that lies is wrought over them, and that everybody in this place knows that there be lies?
He pointed to a stone at our feet, which had been laid down as a slab on which the seat was rested, close to the edge of the cliff.
Read the lies on that thruffstone,
He said. The letters were upside down to me from where I sat, but Lucy was more opposite to them, so she leant over and read.
Sacred to the memory of George
knows that there be lies.
He pointed to a stone at our feet, which had been laid down as a slab on which the seat was rested, close to the edge of the cliff.
Read the lies on that thruffstone,
He said. The letters were upside down to me from where I sat, but Lucy was more opposite to them, so she leant over and read.
Sacred to the memory of George Cannon, who died in the hope of a glorious resurrection on July 29, 1873. falling from the rocks at Kettleness. This tomb was erected by his sorrowing mother to her dearly beloved son. He was the only son of his mother, and she was a widow. Really, Mr. Swells, I don't see anything very funny in that.
She spoke her comment very gravely and somewhat severely.
Yeah, I don't see aught funny. Well, that's because you don't go on this. Yeah, I don't see aught funny. Well, that's because you don't go on this. Funny. Well, that's because you don't go on the sorrowing mother was a hell cat that hated him because he didn't see aught funny.
What, severely?
Yeah, I don't see aught.
Severely?
Yeah, I don't see aught funny. Well, that's because you don't go on the sorrowing mother was a hell cat that hated him because he was hooked. A regular lammeter he was, and he hated her, so that he committed suicide in order that she mightn't get an insurance she put on his life. He blew the top of his head off with an old musket that they had for scaring crows with. 'Tweren't for crows then, for it brought the clegs and dopes to him. That's the way he fell off rocks. And as to hopes of a glorious resurrection,
Ah! You dumb software. Well, the trouble with software is the more control you have, the harder it is to do things. So you have to find that happy middle ground
off rocks. And as to hopes of a glory
between can't do anything and everything's too hard.
this resurrection, I've often heard him say himself that he hoped to go to hell, for his mother was so pious that she'd be sure to go to heaven, and he didn't want to addle where she was. Now, in that a stone at any rate.
He hammered it with his stick as
He hammered it with his stick.
he hammered it.
He hammered it. He did. He bloody well hammered it. Brr.
Stone at any rate.
He hammered it with his stick as he spoke.
A pack of lies.
Really sounds like Dom was gargling that first word.
A pack of lies. And won't it make Gabriel cackle when Jody comes panting up the grease with his tombstone on his hump? And I sit be check as evidence.
I did not know what to say.
Oh yeah, I wrote this one down about, and then we'll take that laugh. Quite happy when the actors throw in extra little stuff like that, but it goes under. It goes under what's going on.
I did not know what to say. But Lucy turned the conversation.
Evidence.
I did not know what to say. But
Evidence.
I did not know what to say. But Lucy turned the conversation as she said, rising up.
Why did you tell us of this? It is my favorite seat and I cannot leave it, and now I find I must go on sitting over the grave of a suicide.
That one time, you mean?
It was the grave of a suicide.
Suicide.
That one time, you me pretty. And it may make poor Geordie gladsome to have so trim a lap.
Odd to have left in a breath there, Stephen. It's not an acting breath.
Pretty. And it may make poor Geordie gladsome to have so trim a lass sitting on his lap. That won't hurt ye. Why, I've sat here on and off for nigh on 20 years past, and it ain't done me no harm. Don't ye fash about 'em as lies under ye, or that doesn't lie there either. It'll be time for ye to be getting scarp when you see the tombstones all run away with, and the place as bare as a stubble field. Oh, there's the clock. I must gang.
There's the clock again.
My service to you, ladies.
And
Right, how we have a clock. We know where the clock is. We know where the clock is. Do we know where the clock is? Come on, we had it just before. Good church bells. That'll do. We'll just have to trim it at 6. That's fine.
It's all run away with, and the place as bare as a stubble field. Oh, there's the... Oh, there's the clock. I must gang. My service to you, ladies.
and off he
Rang, rang.
My service to you, ladies.
and off he hobbled.
I wish I had a longer decay on a bell. Whoa, wait. I wonder. No, that looks like a fast finish there too, doesn't it?
About Arthur, and they for us that we took hands as we sat, and she told me all over again about Arthur and their coming marriage.
Yep. Dang it. Why does no one record the last bloody bell, eh?
Ladies.
And off he hobbled. Lucy and I sat a while, and she was
There's the clock. I must gang. My service to you, ladies.
and off he hobbled. Lucy and I sat a while, and she was also
Now, I do want to move that forward a little bit. There we go.
Stubblefield. Oh, there's the clock. I must
There we go.
gang. My service to you, ladies.
and off he hobbled. Lucy and I sat a while, and she was all so beautiful before us that we took hands as we sat, and she told me all over again about Arthur and their coming marriage. That made me just a little heartsick, for I haven't heard from Jonathan for a whole month. The same day.
Ding, ba-ding, ging, 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 giggity, 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 ging.
Whole month. The same day.
Now, the little bit there where Lucy and Mina are holding hands by the beach and talking about their husbands and stuff like that, and there's even a moment where they have a little kiss and that sort of thing. It has led some people to speculate about the possible sexual lesbianific nature of their relationship. And I would beg them to remember that this was written by an 18th century Irish Catholic man who had serious issues with women. I don't think they're gay. I think it probably would have been a bit more interesting a book if they had been, but no, they're not. They're not.
The same day. I came up here alone, for I am very sad. There was no letter for me. I hope there cannot be anything the matter with Jonathan. The clock has just struck 9. I see that
Oh, for
scattered
frick's sake, how much bloody clock is in this bloody thing? The clock is always the clock. Because no one had their own watch, I suppose. So.
I hope there cannot be anything the matter with Jonathan. The clock has just struck 9.
Let's have it really quiet. Really, really quiet.
Alone, for I am very sad. There was no letter for me. I hope there
4,
cannot be
5,
anything the matter with
6,
Jonathan.
7,
The
8,
clock has just
9.
struck 9. I see the lights scattered all over the... The clock has just struck 9. I see the lights scattered all over the town, sometimes in rows where the streets are and sometimes singly. They run right up the Esk and die away in the curve of the valley. To my left, the view is cut off by a black line of roof of the old house next to the abbey. The sheep and lambs are bleating in the fields away behind me, and there is a clatter of donkeys' hooves up on the paved road below. The band on the pier is playing a harsh waltz in good time, and further along the quay there is a Salvation Army meeting in a back street. Neither of the bands hears the other.
Right. There's a couple of little bands. This is difficult and could be cacophonous. So we will see. What I have is... Oh, that's bloody awful. I didn't even know I still had that. We're going to delete that. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Sorry, having to swing through quite a lot of music here. Is that it? That's what I was thinking of. Bloody short. Really? Is that it? Crap. What about one of these? Well, that's better. That sort of sounds like beachfront music, doesn't it? Alright. So I don't actually want to play the two bands against each other, because that would just be awful on the ears, right? I mean, that's also quite good, but it's incredibly French, isn't it? I don't know a more French introduction to a song than this. Right? That's just... that just screams France, doesn't it?
In the fields away behind me, and there is a clatter of donkeys' hooves up on the paved road below. The band on the pier is playing a harsh waltz in good time, and further along the quay there is a Salvation Army meeting in a back street. Neither of the bands hears the other, but up here I hear and see them both. I wonder where Jonathan is, and if he is thinking of me. I wish he was here.
Dr. Seward's diary.
Ah, that's really alright. Good. Thank buggery for that. Alright.
The band on the pier is playing a harsh waltz in good time, and further along the quay there is a Salvation Army meeting in a back street. Neither of the bands hears the other, but up here I hear and see them both. I wonder where Jonathan is, and if he is thinking of me. I wish he was here.
There's a bit of quiet bit in there. There's a bit of quiet. Let's do this. It's very sneaky.
Donkeys' hooves up on the paved road below. The band on the pier is playing a harsh waltz in good time, and further along the quay there is a Salvation Army meeting in a back street. Neither of the bands hears the other, but up here I hear and see them both. I wonder where Jonathan is, and if he is thinking of me. I wish he was here.
Interesting delivery of that line. That's alright. You have to let your actors make their choices. Especially if you're like me, a terrible director. I am awful. I am not good at telling you what I want, and I have no conflict resolution abilities, so I find it impossible to say, hey, I don't like what you just did, do that again, please. It's terrible. I just realized my little second screen has frozen. It does that. Oh, come on, you useless thing. Stupid buggery bastard. I hope people haven't been chatting at me because I haven't seen any of it. Okay. Now. Far more interesting. Sound layer. Dr. Seward's diary. Dr. Seward, of course, being the doctor in charge of a 19th century insane asylum.
Dr. Seward's diary.
5th of June. The gaze of red.
Let's give him a bit more space there, shall we?
Dr. Seward's diary.
2,
5th of June.
3. Here, there, to there. And there. Okay. So, we got nothing up to display and then down while he speaks.
Dr. Seward's diary.
5th of June. The gaze of Renfield grows more interesting the more I get to understand the man.
Oops, that's stretching out way too far, hasn't it?
He has June. The gaze of Renfield grows more interesting the more I get to understand the man. He had gaze of Renfield grows more interesting the more I get to understand the man.
And we'll lay some writings underneath that.
Fifth of June. The gaze of Renfield grows more interesting the more I get to understand the man.
Ah, wait, no, it's not that. It's not that. It is because his is kept on phonograph.
He has certain qualities.
Shit. Because.
Secrecy and purpose.
Wait. All right. Because I do that in different softwares here. I don't know if it has a special effect here. Audio effects. Radio. I don't know if it does. No, I don't know. Audio effects. Filter and echo? No, I don't know. I know. Let's learn something. How to do it in manually. Or we can just pull out Tim's bid. Where are we? And our Renfield's in there as well, isn't he? Shit. Baggery bollocks.
I wish I could get at what is the object of the latter. He seems to have some settled scheme of his own, but what it is I do not know. His redeeming quality is a love of animals, though, indeed, he has such curious turns in it that I sometimes imagine he is only abnormally cruel. His pets are of odd sorts. Just now, his hobby is catching flies. He has at present such a quantity that I have had myself to expostulate. To my astonishment, he did not break out into a fury, as I expected, but took the matter in simple seriousness. He thought for a moment and then said,
May I have 3 days? I shall clear them away.
"Of course," I said, "that would do. I must watch him." 18th of June. He has
Stop! Back. Oh, fuck.
quantity that I have had myself to watch him. 18th of June.
Red! There, and the fade out, and then the fade in. There we go. Me, my, blue.
Must watch him. 18th of June. He has turned his mind.
Stop that, you great buggery bollocks.
18th of June. He has turned his mind now to spiders and has got several very big fellows in a box. He keeps feeding them his flies. The number of the latter is becoming sensibly diminished, although he has used half his food in attracting more flies from outside to his room. 1st of July.
Same thing again.
Outside to his room. First is from outside to his room. 1st of July. His spiders are now becoming as great a nuisance as his flies, and today I told him that he must get rid of them. He looked very sad at this, so I said that he must some of them, at all events. He cheerfully acquiesced to this, and I gave him the same time as before for reduction.
Why are you being such a boober? Fix yourself.
He looked very sad at this, so I said that he must some of them, at all events. He cheerfully acquiesced to this, and I gave him the same time as before for reduction. He disgusted me much while with him, for when a horrid blowfly, bloated with some carrion food, buzzed into the room, he caught it, held it exultantly for a few moments between his finger and thumb, and before I knew what he was going to do, put it in his mouth and ate it. I scolded him for it, but he argued quietly that it was very good and very wholesome, that it was life, strong life, and gave life to him. This gave me an idea, or the rudiment of one. I must watch how he gets rid of his spiders. He has evidently some deep problem in his mind, for he keeps a little notebook in which he is always jotting down something. Whole pages of it are filled with masses of figures, generally single numbers added up in batches, and then the totals added in batches again, as though he were focusing some account, as the auditors put it. 8th of July.
Blades of blue bly.
Account, as the auditors put it. 8th of July. There is a method in his madness, and the rudimentary idea in my mind is growing. It will be a whole idea soon, and then, give the wall to your conscious idea soon, and then, unconscious cerebration, you will have to give the wall to your conscious brother. I kept away from my friend for a few days, so that I might notice if there were any change. Things remain as they were, except that he has parted with some of his pets and got a new one. He has managed to get a sparrow, and has already...
Let's trim that a little bit. Rep. Dip. But also rep and dip there as well.
Some of his pets and got a new one. He has managed to get a sparrow and has already partially tamed it, His means of taming is simple, for already the spiders have diminished. Those that do remain, however, are well fed, for he still brings in the flies by tempting them with his food. 19th of July. We are progressing.
Trying to pull a Swifty on me there, Tim.
19th of July.
Hey! Hey! You can't catch me out like that, boy. Boy-o, fella me lad.
Of July.
19th of July. There we are. Dead and dead, then that, and then that, and that, not,
By tempting them with his food. 19th of July. We are progressing. My friend has now a whole colony of sparrows, and his flies and spiders are almost obliterated. When I came in, he ran to me and said he wanted to ask me a great favour, a very, very great favour. And as he spoke, he fawned on me like a dog.
Let's just trim that down a bit. Trim it. Look back. Thank you.
And as he spoke, he fawned on me like a dog. I asked him what it was, and he said, with a sort of rapture in his voice and bearing,
A kitten. A nice little sleek, playful kitten that I can play with and teach and feed and feed.
I was not unprepared for this request, for I had noticed how his pets went on increasing in size and vivacity. But I did not care that his pretty family of tame sparrows should be wiped out in the same manner as the flies and spiders. So I said I would see about it, and asked him if he would not rather have a cat than a kitten. His eagerness betrayed him as he answered,
Trim, trim stuff. It feels like it almost hasn't been trimmed at all, doesn't it?
rather have a cat than a kitten. His eagerness betrayed him as he answered,
Oh, yes. I would like a cat. I only asked for a kitten, lest you should refuse me a cat. No one would refuse me a kitten, would they?
I shook my head and said that at present I feared it would not be possible, but that I would see about it. His face fell, and I could see a warning of danger in it, for there was a sudden, fierce, sidelong look which meant killing. The man is an undeveloped, homicidal maniac. I shall test him with his present craving and see how it will work out. Then I shall know more. 10 p.m. I have visited him again and found it. How it will work out. Then I shall know more. 10 p.m. I have visited him. Then I shall know more. 10 p.m. I have visited him again and found him sitting in a corner, brooding. When I came in, he threw himself on his knees before me and implored me to let him have a cat, that his salvation depended upon it. I was firm, however, and told him that he could not have it, whereupon he went without a word and sat down, gnawing his fingers in the corner where I had found him. I shall see him in the morning, early. 20th of July. Visited...
This is odd, because I did clean Tim's files. I rather suspect I may have sent an uncleaned version to Mache to put all this together.
Him in the morning, early. 20th of July. Visited. I shall see him in the morning, early. 20th of July. Visited Renfield very early before attendant. Morning, early. 20th of July. Visited Renfield very early before attendant went his rounds. Found him up and humming a tune. He was spreading out his sugar, which he had saved, in the window, and was manifestly beginning his fly catching again, and beginning it cheerfully and with good grace. I looked around for his birds, and not seeing them, asked him where they were. He replied, without turning round, that they had all flown away. There were a few feathers about the room, and on his pillow a drop of blood. I said nothing, but went and told the keeper to report to me if there were anything odd about him during the day. 11 a.m.
Easier to report if there's nothing odd about Renfield, eh? Hey! 'Cause he's a weirdo freak, that's why. Yes. Old Renfield. What a weirdo.
Told the keeper to report to me if there were anything odd about him during the day. 11 a.m. The attendant has just been to see me to say that Renfield has been very sick and has disgorged a whole lot of feathers.
My belief is, Doctor,
that Stephen Parker has done this line. He's doing all the extra rules in this book, you know, now.
Report to me if there were anything odd about him during the day. 11 a.m. The attendant has just been to see me to 11 a.m. The attendant has 11 a.m. The attendant has just The attendant has just been to see me to say that Renfield has been very sick and has disgorged a whole lot of feathers.
my belief is, Doctor,
He said.
belief is, Doctor,
He said.
that he has eaten his birds, and that he just took and ate them raw.
Of feathers.
My belief is, Doctor,
He said.
that he has eaten his birds, and that he just took and ate them raw.
11 p.m. I gave Renfield.
Oh, bloody hell. I usually don't expect to do anywhere this much just fiddly cleaning, because it's supposed to be all done by this point.
8 p.m. I gave
It's a bit irritating, to be honest with you.
Took and ate them raw.
11
That he just took and ate them raw.
11 p.m. I gave Renfield strong opiate tonight, enough to make even him sleep, and took away his pocketbook to look at it. The thought has been buzzing about my brain lately is complete, and the theory proved. My homicidal maniac is of a peculiar kind. I shall have to invent a new classification for him, and call him a zoophagus, life-eating maniac. What he desires is to absorb as many lives as he can, and he has laid himself out to achieve it in a cumulative way. He gave many flies to one spider, many spiders to one bird, and then wanted a cat to eat the many birds. What would have been his later steps? It would be almost worthwhile to complete the experiment. What would have been his later steps?
What is that?
Later steps. Later steps.
Can I delete it? Let's see.
Later step.
No. Buggery bollocks.
Later steps. It would be almost worth.
We can drop it a bit, but we can't get rid of it. That's all
What
right.
would have been his later steps? It would be almost worthwhile to complete the experiment. It might be done if there was only a sufficient cause. Men sneered at vivisection, and yet look at the results today. Why not advance science in its most difficult and vital aspect, the knowledge of the brain? Had I even the secret of one such mind, did I hold the key to the fancy of even one lunatic, I might advance my own branch of science to a pitch compared with Burton Sanderson's physiology or Ferrier's brain knowledge would be as nothing. If only there was a sufficient cause. I must not think too much of this, or I may be tempted. A good cause might turn the scale with me, for may not I too be of an exceptional brain congenitally?
You might. Alright, so we have done about an hour and 20 here of this core file here, and I have to go off to class in like 3 minutes. So we're going to have to call it there. But we have done some good work, folks. We have done some good work. Look at that. We've done nearly 25 minutes of it. We got awfully close to the end, but I think this is only the first pass. We're going to have to lay some other sound effects around to flesh it out a bit and make it sound a bit more interesting. So we will come back tomorrow and we will finish chapter 6, and we'll make it sound all lovely and delightful and sparkling, pretty, witty and brave and strong and true, handsome and wonderful for all of the listeners. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me here. I hope you found it moderately interesting despite my whinging. And yes, we will see thee on the morrow. Fare thee well, anon.